Do you consistently feel stressed out at work? Does your boss stress you out? Can it be that you're dealing with emotionally immature boss? Do you feel so stressed out at work that you start doubting your own ability to deal with work situations? You lose confidence. Your boss might be unpredictable and inconsistent in their communication. Can it be that it's not you, but your boss and their emotional immaturity that really stresses you out? In this video, I will give you 5 signs, red flags of emotionally immature boss, and explain how you can safeguard your energy and emotional well-being at the workplace. A supportive and emotionally mature and intelligent boss can make a whole difference in your workplace. They contribute into positive work experience, job satisfaction, and personal growth. On the flip side, an emotionally immature boss can create a really challenging, dysfunctional, and toxic environment, affecting your emotional well-being and job satisfaction. Let's explore the 4 signs, red flags of an emotionally immature boss, how to recognize these signs, and we'll look at strategies to protect your emotional well-being at work. So let's look at the 4 signs. The first sign of emotionally immature boss is that they lack self-awareness. Ever dealt with a boss who thinks they're absolutely flawless? We've all been there. If your boss is a master of blame shifting, allergic to owning up to their mistakes, it might be a sign that they are still on the journey to their self-awareness. Sign number 2 is they are inconsistent in their communication. Picture this. One day you are an office hero, the next day you're wondering if you've stepped into an alternative universe. If your boss communication style resembles a mood swing playlist, you might be in for a very emotional and stressful roller coaster at work. Number 3, they have difficulty handling criticism. It's not their strong suit. Picture this. You're trying to be helpful, coming up with a helpful suggestion, and suddenly it feels like you've triggered a volcano. If your boss takes criticism as personal attacks, you might be dealing with some emotional immaturity. Number 4, they have poor conflict resolution skills. Conflict is inevitable in any workplace, right? But emotional immature boss may struggle to handle it effectively. They might avoid addressing conflicts altogether, allow issues to fester, and they handle criticism extremely unproductively and become confrontational. If your boss tends to sweep problems under the rug, resorts to blame games, and during the conflict, it's a red flag of their emotional immaturity. Now, let's look at how you can navigate this emotional roller coaster caused by an emotionally immature boss. What can you do to sort of collect more data to give yourself a better picture of who, if you're dealing with the emotionally immature boss, and how to address that? Number 1, become an observer. This is so important. The observation phase. Observe the patterns. Take a note of your boss's behavior over time. Is it a one-off thing or a recurring pattern? Observing patterns is your superpower in this instant. Take emotions out of it and start paying attention to those patterns of behavior. The second thing you can do is seek feedback from your colleagues. Don't be alone in your experiences. Collect that data. Talk to your colleagues to gain insights into their experiences with the boss. Shared observations can provide a more comprehensive picture for you about your boss's leadership style and the level of their emotional maturity. And it can help you to confirm or refute your own perceptions. The third thing you can do is reflect on your own emotional well-being. So take a moment to really look and wonder and understand assess your emotional well-being at work. Are you consistently stressed, maybe chronically stressed, anxious, or demotivated? Your emotional state can be a very important and viable indicator of the impact of boss's behavior on your emotional state at work. It might be that your boss's emotional roller coaster is affecting and creating your own emotional chaos. Take time for self-reflection and talk to another person. This can help. Now, let's look at the safeguarding strategies that you can put in place for your emotional well-being when you're working under an emotionally immature boss. There are a few things you can do. Number one is draw a line. Boundaries, boundaries, and again, boundaries. Look, establishing boundaries might be the most difficult step to follow. We all have boundaries. No matter what people say, we all have our own kinds of boundaries. It's impossible to be a human being without boundaries. So, but some of us have unhealthy or broken boundaries, right? And a lot of us start adulthood and our working lives with broken or wonky boundaries. So, and I have a whole video on my YouTube channel about boundaries and misconceptions that people have about boundaries, how to reestablish, how to understand your own boundaries without labeling them, and how to earn or build healthy boundaries. Now, your boss's drama doesn't have to be your drama. Easier said than done, right? Setting clear boundaries between work and personal life, between your boss's emotions and your own emotions, stops the emotional roller coaster, their emotional roller coaster, from dictating your own emotional state. It's a way, establishing boundaries is a way to disconnect from what does not belong to you. Now, this is, again, easier said than done. Establishing clear boundaries between personal and professional, your emotions and your boss's emotions, can be difficult for people who do not have that frame of references from their childhood. A lot of my clients were raised by reactive parents and emotionally immature parents, and they find it extremely difficult to follow this step. Now, this is not something that can be done in a minute or just by saying no or becoming more assertive. Boundaries don't work like this. If you start off with no boundaries, it's when a way about getting and establishing and earning boundaries is through creating experiences of internal, physical, and emotional support. So, but a lot of us, having been raised by reactive parents, toxic parents, emotionally immature parents, do not have that frame of references inside our nervous system, right? So I get it, it can be very hard because the boundaries we have, we usually bring them everywhere we go, right? So we tend to have same kind of boundaries in the work situations and in personal situation. So, but boundaries can be learned. It's not something to be helpless about, something to be hopeful about. You can repair and earn your boundaries, make them healthier one through your inner work. Now, if it's difficult for you, seek professional help to understand your triggers, emotions that come up when you feel like you are made to deal with someone else's emotions or your boss's emotional state, right? So seek professional help with boundaries. As I said, boundaries setting with emotionally mature boss can be extremely hard if you do not have that frame of reference from your childhood, for example. And it can be difficult to establish mechanisms of what healthy boundaries are. So if you find it difficult to establish boundaries, it makes sense to seek support in that. Boundaries really help you to distance yourself from letting someone else's, in this case, your boss's emotional state, dictate your own. You become more assertive, and this safeguards your time, your well-being, and energy. Now, the second thing The second safeguarding strategy that I can recommend is develop active coping strategies with stress. Now, and I'm not talking about just normal stress, regular go-to stress busters like affirmation, meditation. Those are great, but many people I work with, they use so-called passive or avoidant stress coping mechanisms. These things we do, these stress coping mechanisms, they keep you in a cycle of stress. I've got a whole video on my YouTube channel on what passive coping and active stress coping look like. And in a nutshell, passive coping keeps you in the cycle of stress symptoms and distracts you from dealing with the real issue. The way you cope with stress is clouded in a lot of confusion. There is a confusion about stressor, confusion about control, what you can control and cannot control in the situation, confusion about what is a symptom or what is a real problem, confusion about a stressor, for example. So this is, and to help us deal with situations through passive coping, we usually distract ourselves by eating, I don't know, binge watching, a lot of destructive behaviors, another ones, drinking, smoking, overthinking is a big one as well. While active coping, on the other hand, helps you resolve the stress at its source and puts you in control. Example of active coping, and this is what I teach my clients, is clarity. So there is more clarity about the stressor, about the areas of your control, about triggers. And all these active coping strategies lead to the resolution of stress at its source. The real issue that fuels the stress states, right? And it can go deeper into, for example, mindset, some learned deeper behaviors, beliefs, unprocessed emotions. So resolving those deeper issues can help eliminate stress at its source. The third thing I can recommend that helps you to safeguard your emotional well-being when you're in a situation with the emotionally immature boss is communicate effectively. When possible, communicate openly with your boss. Now, effective communication, again, easier said than done. Effective communication is a lot of things, and it's a skill on its own. But when you are in control of your emotions, you have clarity about triggers and stresses and clarity about the areas of control in your life. You're using active stress coping. This feeds naturally into how you communicate with others. You start using more effective and open communication. When you express yourself clearly without overwhelm and free from confrontational and defensive tone. When you express your needs, concerns, and expectations in a calm and constructive manner. Effective communication can help you manage and potentially address some of the issues at work. The fourth thing you can do is build a support system. The worst thing you can do if you are in a situation with emotionally immature boss and experiencing high levels of stress and anxiety is to keep it all in. Isolation would be the worst idea here. Emotionally immature boss tends to confuse and frustrate their team members. And this might increase the levels of stress and creates dysfunctional work environment. Just like imagine in a dysfunctional family, people tend to hide, isolate, self-doubt, and generally lose their zest and to resolve issues, right? Hopelessness can creep in. So please do not stay isolated or hide your concerns. Cultivate relationships with colleagues who share similar experiences. A supportive network can give you understanding, validation, and provide advice on navigating challenging work situations. So really working on the emotionally immature boss can be emotionally draining, but by recognizing the signs and implementing some of the strategies, they help to protect yourself and maintain that level of emotional well-being that's necessary for you to navigate professional life more effectively. Remember that you have control over your reactions and choices, and taking proactive steps to safeguard your emotional health is crucial for long-term success and happiness in the workplace. These are also lifelong skills that you can take anywhere. If you find that you are stuck, really stuck in a reactive cycle, you're constantly triggered, you're feeling the signs of stress and anxiety consistently, you're unable to deal with stressful situations, you feel frequently overwhelmed, anxious, and you might choose to seek professional help to help you develop healthy, active coping mechanisms, address deeper issues that might be driving your stress states, like beliefs, models of behavior, your worldview. If you struggle with boundaries, learn to establish them, learn to renegotiate and earn them through therapy and inner work. It's an amazing investment into your personal well-being, and it pays off all the time. Your boundaries are worth it. Thank you.